speech to open the session today. Several months ago, I began my research by asking what there is to celebrate about women in engineering.
Just hold this down.
Thank you.
Because we're shorter.
Okay. Thanks. Over the past few months of research, I found out there is indeed a great deal to celebrate. First, there are great pioneers like Grace Hopper, who contributed groundbreaking work in COBOL computing, and there are outstanding contemporary women, three of whom we have here today as panelists. These women make daily contributions to engineering through the excellence of their work and their support of other women, professional organizations, and universities. And there are outstanding men to celebrate. Mentors, colleagues, and leaders who have encouraged and welcomed women engineers, one of whom we have here as a panelist. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know when I say engineering for the most part remains a predominantly male profession. Just look at the last night's reception. As Smith College found in its recent study of the engineering education system, roughly 5 out of 6 engineering students are male, as are 9 out of 10 engineering professors. While each person's decision to pursue her or his career is ultimately a personal one, an increasing body of research sheds some light into why there are so few women in engineering. What we found is this: environmental factors, such as exclusion from social network and the lack of role models, as a major source of discouragement for females. Well, not every female student and engineer has been as fortunate as I am. To take a small step and break this pattern, we have invited four distinguished leaders who are part of engineering firms and universities to share their thoughts and career paths with us. I would like to introduce our first panelist, Wanda Reeder. Wanda is the president of Power System Services at SNC Electric Company, as well as the global architect for SNC's global service operations. She has over 27 years of experience in the electric utility industry and is the past president of IEEE Power and Energy Society. Wanda has served on the IEEE PES governing board since 2002 and is also the chairman of IEEE Smart Grid. She is recently appointed as chairperson of the Smart Grid subcommittee. Wanda also provided leadership for the IEEE PES Scholarship Plus initiative, which provides a scholarship and internship to undergraduate power engineers. She regularly participates in events in order to share her vision and experience.
All right, thank you, Shay. There's as many of you as there are us. How about that deal? So if you have questions, just holler. We can keep this pretty informal. I thought what I'd do today is just talk a little bit about my background and talk about changes in leadership style that I'm seeing, largely as a result of Smart Grid and changes in the industry. I think it presents a tremendous opportunity for women. And wrap up with some tips that, at least in hindsight, that I think might be useful. So with that, a little bit about my background. One of the things that I encourage you to do is talk to others about how they found their way into engineering. Because without fail, there is always an interesting story that goes behind it. And for me, I was raised on a very rural upbringing, thousands of acres, beef cattle ranch in South Dakota, very active in 4-H. And I ultimately was turned towards engineering as a freshman in college, or in high school, where my algebra teacher actually followed me into the hall and tapped me on the shoulder one day and said, "You really should consider going into engineering." And I didn't know what an engineer was, I'd never met one. And she said, had I had the tip early, I should have done that, but at the time I didn't know that that was available to women, and I was a math major. You need to think about this. So, I relayed this to her because I think it's important that people understand the implications of those conversations. And I also have now learned that it's important for us to reach out to, students in those very formidable years, because it was a very short conversation, but had a tremendous impact in my life. Through college, I worked all the time, which was certainly helpful to make contacts to get into the working environment. I was on the Dean's Advisory Council for engineering. I was the one student representative, and on there was a gentleman from the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association. I'd been working with a company called Daktronics all the way through school, wanted to get out of Brookings, and he said, well, we'll create a position for you in Washington, D.C. To summarize all of their research projects. So that was a real eye-opener for me to come to Washington, D.C. for a summer. It just really gave me a different perspective of what was possible. And again, that internship experience, I think, so much broadened what I thought I could do as compared to staying in South Dakota. I have no doubt that my career was completely changed because of that experience. So, you know, I have been providing leadership for the Scholarship Plus initiative, in part because I realized that we need to bring talent into the industry, and it's very important not only to get the best and brightest into the classroom, but also to connect them with work experiences, because that connection will actually, you know, really cements the deal to get them into our industry. In part because that was my experience. We all are what we, you know, what we are, and the experience lends to it. Anyway, coming out of that DC internship position, I then realized that I'm more of a Midwest kind of person than I am a coast person, certainly more than now. And I ultimately got my first job